Hello and welcome everyone to our marketing webinar series. And yes, we're all bright like diamonds in the sky today. We're ready to go. We've got an awesome turnout and we're super excited to talk about all things lead generation today. We're thankful that you took the time out of your busy schedule because we know you're booked to join us and you won't be disappointed, I don't think, by the end. Anyway, your cameras will be off, you will be muted, but please ask questions. Q&A and chat is live and I'm ready to answer those for you. And as well, thank you to everyone who asked questions in advance because there were some really good ones in there. And I know Rick and Erin will probably touch on most of those things today. And if we don't, we'll absolutely follow up with you. As well, your copy is coming. You don't have to worry about taking notes. Put your pens down, put your phones down. We'll send you a copy of this lead gen playbook at the end, and you just have to request it. There's a really quick survey on the way out that we could really appreciate your feedback, and you can just sign up to get that, and we'll send that to you. As a marketing agency, we hear these comments every day. I know I do. I know Erin and Rick do. As we talk to all of our clients, our marketing is mediocre at best. My marketing person can't do everything we need. They may be great, but they can't do it all. 85% of our revenues are still legacy offerings. Our sales team is disengaged on LinkedIn. And
no, we don't hear that one. Do we, Melissa?
No, we'll skip right over that one. I know you'll touch on that today, Rick. We need coaching on how to follow up on a website lead. Erin and Rick will both talk to that today. And our free assessment and trial offers or contact us isn't working. But at the end of the day, in short, every single person, I know you're probably here today because you want more leads. So we're all here today to talk about that. And so let's dive right into that. But before we do, these are all the beautiful faces that our customers get to see each day. There's lots of people in and behind that, but this is our customer-facing team. And as we tell our clients, you manage your business and let us manage your marketing for you. I'm showing this stat today because today's topic is lead gen, and we don't just talk about it. We do have a track record of over 50,000 leads, and primarily in the office tech arena. So we're confident that what we're talking about will work for you when it comes to lead gen. Rick, I know you were the feature speaker recently at the Quench conference with a couple hundred dealers on the next generation of lead generation, which was very well received. And so, I know you'll speak to that a little bit today. And Erin, I know you've got some exciting things coming up, a webinar with BTA, the Business Technology Association, on the next gen of lead gen. And also you're going to head to IT Nation in an upcoming CDA meeting as a preferred marketing partner with ConnectWise. Okay, Rick, Erin, welcome. I've done enough talking. It's time for you guys to do talking. I know you don't like it, but we're going to talk.
Great job, Melissa. You did an awesome job hosting these. And hey, if you're joining us today, thank you so much. As Melissa said, we appreciate it. It's great to see so many of our current customers and phenomenal turnout of new people as well. As we get going today, just keep in mind, as I always tell people, it's what we learn about lead generation after we know it all that really counts. So hopefully we validate some of the things that you maybe know today but aren't using and poke you with a few new ideas. But this poll question or pop quiz we put in, how many qualified leads are you getting from your website? Now, be honest. We want them to be honest, right, Erin? Don't we on here?
Yeah, I think you got to be honest with yourselves, but I think it's really eye-opening to figure out like how many qualified leads, not just the ones that you want your sales team to follow up with, the ones that really are worth the conversation and your time.
Definitely. So I have the privilege of seeing in behind here. So what do you think? Where do you think? Do you think they're going to be honest? What do you think they're saying here?
Well, I think people have a loose definition, Erin, of what a lead
Of a
is.
qualified.
A lead is not necessarily adding an email to an email list. Some people call that a lead.
Yeah.
Could you define how would you define a lead, Erin, in terms of how we're talking about qualified lead?
I mean, in short, I think a lead is someone that comes to some sort of action on your website, content, whatever, and is looking for a conversation about the product or service that you sell. And when we say qualified, it's not, someone out of a territory that you sell in, but, an actual conversation that's worth your time.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
want conversations, to your point, and more meetings, et cetera. So what were the poll results? Let's see how honest.
I just want you guys to guess. What do you think is the number one answer here? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I'm going a few.
Okay, Erin and Rick?
most people have no idea. I'm going to go with number 4.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm going to show you who won.
Yeah.
Aaron.
What? A few?
A few.
All right. All right. Good.
69% voted a few, 28% voted none. Nobody
No,
said lots,
no one's getting lots,
and
whatever
3%
lots
have no
is.
idea.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna have a good conversation today then.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
So based on the poll results, it's a good opportunity. Now, Aaron, maybe you can talk to how people think about lead gen, but what really happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is kind of it's an all over the map kind of slide for a reason because lead generation is typically all over the map, right? It takes a village to make this happen. This isn't a one person thing, not a form on your website or one person making sales calls is going to make lead gen happen, one marketing person. It has to be consistent, it has to be aligned with your sales and really wanting making sure that we connect the dots along the way because what's happening out in the sales field, what's happening in real life needs to be connected back to marketing and your messaging. These things need to be tied together so that you get more leads, so that you are growing the business. And part of it is getting more eyeballs, more viewers on your website or on your content, but then also giving them information that's engaging. Think about it like us in real life, right? If we don't see anything that captures our attention or it's engaging, we're just going to keep passing it by. So we got to think about who we're selling to, who we're communicating with, and give them the information that they're looking for. So this is an interesting slide. So this was a question that someone on the webinar today asked. If I had $1,000 or if I gave you $1,000 to grow my business, how would you do it? And I thought that was a great question. Now, whether you have $100,000 or you have, $25,000, right? How would you spend that money? And so if I fast forward to the end is you don't need a bigger budget, you need a smarter plan, right? And I think that's what we're going to talk about a lot through the meeting today. But if you think about that question on if I gave you $100,000, just quickly running through it from my perspective is think about your website, think about your messaging, being consistent with your website and your messaging. Your website in a B2B world is the hub of all your marketing activity, and that has to be set up for success. And that takes an investment. Building a lead generation engine comes from understanding your buyer, who it is that you're trying to sell to, that ICP, and then being in places like Google Ads and LinkedIn and communicating with that buyer with the information that you like to share with them. And then we talk a little bit about content that grabs attention. A lot of times we take, a generic flyer, put our logo on it, and put it out. That's not content that grabs attention. We want content that grabs attention, and we want to use mediums like video to be able to communicate that information to be customized to our audience. I thought one other thing that was kind of interesting is account-based marketing, a little bit old school, but targeting that 100 prospects that you want to get in front of that you're looking to sell to. You can do that through video, through different platforms, but also through old school things like direct mail is a great way to connect with your target audience. And lastly, track, optimize, and scale. And I think the reporting thing is talked about, but not often put into practice. So being able to do that is really important. Listen, at the end of the day, you don't need a bigger budget. You need a smarter plan. And buyers today, if you think about it in totality, we zoom out, only 5% of people are in the market to buy your product and service today. That means 95% are researching different products and services and trying to find solutions to questions that they have. So we've got to kind of do both. We've got to cater to the 5%. We've got to cater to the 95%. How did I do, Melissa? Did that answer the question?
That answered it.
Okay. Awesome.
But
Thank you.
Eric, to your point during that slide, I think a lot of people are looking for immediate leads in the next 30 days. And they miss the thought process about, not to get too markety, but the top of the funnel that people may not be interested now, but they may be in the future. And how do we touch those people so that when they do pop their head up and say, hey, I'm interested in this, they're aware of you, your brand, etc. So I just think that 5% are in the window right now is really relevant to where we're going. Hey, so Melissa, as you go forward here, we're going to give you 10 plays, hence our playbook today. And I just wanted you to know up front here, you'll see there's 2 logos on the bottom of our slide. Into Communications, our digital marketing agency, Sell to Win, our sales coaching business. And so as we spin those together to optimize the performance for our customers, what we try to do is we talk about inbound leads. So those would be things that the prospect initiates. So they may be coming to your website from search engine optimization. Maybe they're on Google, for example, they search, or they're on, Aaron, I'll talk later about it, through AI or YouTube, versus outbound leads. They're 2 distinct different things. This is where an outbound, your team's going out, knocking on the door, phoning a customer, emailing, from an outreach standpoint. We just want you to know as we go forward today, we're going to take both these models into consideration because they both need to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, we're going to dive into 10 lead gen plays that we have in our playbook. And, these are strategies we believe you need to have in motion. And as we walk through each of these plays, we strongly encourage you to consider AI and automation and how it can amplify the impact as we weave that into, everything we do. And Rick and Aaron, you're going to guide them through each of these plays and what it is and why it matters. So why don't we just get started with SEO?
Sure, that's a great way to get started. Search engine optimization or search everywhere optimization. Are we on every channel? How are we getting found for the products and services that we sell? And there's a little bit that goes into this, right? Like there's a technical SEO aspect of it, meaning that when you think about the $100,000 example I gave you, your website, that behind the scenes plumbing, heating, electrical piece that you don't see, the way your website's set up, that has an SEO component. But then there's also SEO in regards to organic and content. It really comes down to the platforms, and then it comes down to the questions that your clients are asking. So as an example, I had a client the other day, they're a landscaping company, they're quite large, and they said, I said, where are you guys getting your leads from? They said, actually, interestingly enough, I got one of our best leads through ChatGPT. So how did that work? Someone put into ChatGPT, show me the best landscaping company that can help me with my snow and grass services in whatever area. Their business popped up, and that's who the person called. So when we talk about search everywhere, we want to make sure that we're popping up on all these different platforms, and which means that we have to think about how we're positioning our story, our content, and how we're optimizing it for search. Because if it's not getting indexed by any of these platforms, we're getting lost, and we're really missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron, when it comes to, and we owe it to Taylor and our team, shout out to Taylor for introducing me anyway to the search everywhere optimization as opposed to SEO. We're seeing as an agency, just a lot of people searching through AI now. And if
Mhm.
you haven't gone into a incognito search, I'll call it, and actually search for not the name of your company, but what you offer in your marketplace, I think you're missing a stride to really understand what the customer experience is at that search phase. The third bullet there, Aaron, I just want to point out to the team, like the folks here, that one of the things that you should be doing as a customer, obviously, and the second bullet is make sure your website doesn't have issues because you'll be penalized through the search engines. But what you should be doing is understanding what is driving traffic to your competitor's website and then making sure that you are aligned or pivoting your sales accordingly to capture that traffic and hijack it over to your site. So there's a lot of technology behind what we're talking about here, which includes AI, like you said, Melissa, behind the scenes.
Mhm.
But I just think this search everywhere is a newer concept people need to be thinking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that, here's an example of an office equipment dealer that we worked with where we really helped them put a focus together on the things we've been talking about from a search engine optimization, and they immediately started seeing results. And really the takeaway from this is, the impressions on the website increased from 50K to 60K, but the point is we're driving more people to the website, we're driving more attention to your story, and that's ultimately what we want to do, right? And there's a bit of a science that goes into it, and it takes a little bit of work, but a focus on this area will be hugely beneficial to your business.
Someone may be asking, Aaron, just as we go here, like, what about paid, which is,
Mhm.
that's a version to customers can engage in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, this SEO model is something that should be doing on an ongoing basis, and I know our clients have had a lot of success, and when you do it right, it's a longer build, and you will see a significant increase in traffic to your site. Hey, Melissa, the next one there I think I've got is email. So,
Yes.
the second play we think you should have in your book is email marketing. And you may say, Rick, I got that. We're doing that right now. But if you look at these bullets here, let me just challenge you to think about what you're doing right now. Like, how are you growing your list?
Mhm.
Like, is your list static? Have you got the same list as you had a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago? So whether you're extracting from CRM, you're implementing technology like Zoom Info, etc., these are the things that we're thinking about with clients. We think you should be thinking about as well. Whether you cut your list by profile, industry, etc. The one thing, Aaron, I know you're big on is the third bullet I got there is educating versus promoting. If you're pounding someone with your message in a tell message all the time, your email open rates, never mind the read throughs, are going to go way down. And I
Mhm.
would argue, as a sales coach and slash maybe digital guy, marketing guy, the subject lines is where I think a lot of people miss. And we put all this effort into what's in the body of the email, but the subject line is going to determine the open rate, which is really step number one in terms of our goal. And you notice in the last bullet we have there is review the campaigns. It was a couple days ago. We were going through with a client a campaign that we recently did. This is an office technology reseller, and the open rates were great. I think it was like high 20%, which is above the norm. And then the click-through rates were in the teens, which again is a high number. And what they were able to do by looking at these results is say, okay, who opened our email? But better yet, who clicked through the email to something on their website, which in layman terms, if you were phishing, the open the email is a little bit of a dip of the rod, but if they click through to your website, chances are there's something in there that stimulated them, and hence that's where the sales side of the organization can, complement the marketing effort to generate more leads.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
I would add to that, Rick, to your point on educate versus promote. Like this is where we have to think personalization. This is where we have to think who is it that we're trying to talk to and what information are we sharing that's of value. It's not
Mhm.
just about pushing out mass messages now. Now we can really connect with our audience. So putting that little extra thought into who that is and what they're looking for goes a long way in what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Rick, you're up on this one too. LinkedIn.
Back to back LinkedIn. This is
Yeah.
Hey, look, thanks if you've been through our 30-day LinkedIn boot camp, by the way. We'll push, I don't know, we're closing on 4,000 people. And it was identified, especially when the pandemic hit, that, people just didn't understand how to use that platform. I would call it from a sales methodology standpoint. And so you may, if you look at the graphic on the right side there of the watering hole, I continue to argue that this is the social media watering hole where your decision makers are coming and hanging out, and we got to meet them there. By the way, we got to look the right way. I'll just touch on the bottom graphic there. If you think LinkedIn isn't coming more and more, a few weeks ago, I had the chance to talk to Ole Miss University, the students there in their sales and marketing program. And so at the university level, they're already prepping students to start to get on LinkedIn. And a couple weeks ago, before that, I spoke to a grade 10 class, and guess what they're doing? They're setting up, how they're going to approach LinkedIn as well. So I'm just saying the generation that we're selling to now tends to be a little younger, and I think the adoption of LinkedIn is going to continue to rise. But how do you do it right? And so if I just come down the bullets in the slide there, the biggest gap we see, and look, you may have said, hey, Rick, we standardized our profiles. But if you look as a sales leader, marketing leader at the customer facing people on your team, and you look at them, do you look like a team? Or is this guy got mountains and she's got, this and he's got, if you look disparate, I don't think it faces up the right way to the customer. I would argue LinkedIn is your digital business card. My second bullet there to prospecting activity, having as part of a core prospecting piece to your mix. Most sales leaders will track, physical calls, meaning knocks on doors or physical visits, phone calls, emails, in your activity metrics, but very few, I think, are progressive in thinking about, LinkedIn metrics. So for example, we would suggest reps should be doing, 30 net new connections with their ideal customer profile. Now, let me spin that back a bit. Do your reps understand how to invite someone to connect? Because a lot of the invitations look like a prospecting email. It's like, hey, Melissa, we're the number one provider of XYZ. I was looking to connect with you. Maybe we get 15 minutes on your calendar. It's just way too aggressive for LinkedIn. And so I think a little coaching there can really go a long way. I had some other pieces in there, but the main gap we see that should be part of your playbook is how do you get your people, your sales reps especially, up on LinkedIn? So I thought we'd show you a kind of a little concept here that's working for our clients. If you want to go ahead here, Melissa,
So Rick, just to that point, just before you jump on, one of the things that I had in my $100,000 story was consistent messaging, and I just want to
Mm,
point out that this is also an example of consistent messaging, right? A messaging across all platforms, because
definitely.
when people see you consistently, they think of you, and that's that 95% versus 5%.
Definitely.
yeah, and I can't tell you how many folks we've seen on Facebook. You look like this. On Instagram, you look like that. And
Right.
but on the LinkedIn channel, so we identified a gap. Look, we're creating great content. Your company's creating great content on LinkedIn. We need to be that watering hole, but the reps are disengaged. So how do we fix that? So a few months ago, we launched this product called Link Alert. Okay. And if you go ahead here, Melissa, the concept is if your people will share your corporate posts, the reach within their network is going to 10x the reach of your message. And so just at a high level, here's kind of how it works. First of all, your company would post something on LinkedIn. Your people then would get a text or email alert that says, hey, we just posted. It would give them a visual of what the post is. And also through ChatGPT integration we've got, they'll get 3 sample kind of comments they could cut and paste. A lot of people want to repost. They don't know what the heck to say. So they'll get sample reposts. but with one click, they can go right to reposting your corporate post to their network. Now, if you go ahead, we've got a testimonial here that will show you guys from one of our clients that we just launched it last week. And here's an example of what happened right away.
Hey, Caleb with Impression Solutions, Regional Sales Manager. I want to tell you all quickly about a new product I'm using called Link Alert. Link Alert is a brand new AI tool that is helping me get my personal brand and our company's brand out into the LinkedIn marketplace. So we started using this today, and we have I normally get about 30 impressions on a normal post that I just like or repost on LinkedIn. I looked at it this afternoon. I have over 350 impressions, a lot of reactions to the post. So guys, it actually has 10x my growth just from being able to hit a button and repost within a matter of 5 to 10 seconds. I really like it and hope you guys can use it as well.
Talked about it, we thought we through it, but in short, we think LinkedIn should absolutely be a play within your playbook.
Great. Thank you, Rick. All right, Aaron, you're up.
Awesome, Rick. Yeah, I mean, I think that LinkedIn is also a great way to generate referral business. Actually, leading into this slide, or what I would say is word of mouth marketing. Like, how do we build fans, right? How do we build people that are excited about things we do? And some interesting stats on here. Only 11% of salespeople ask for referrals. You know, just like what you showed, right? Caleb showing his experience with Link Alert. 91% of customers would be willing to provide a referral if the company or brand were satisfied with the service. So it kind of reminds me of what my dad told me. You know, you are the sum of your 5 best friends. Well, everyone out there that are great clients of ours, they have 5 best friends. And so how do we get those 5 best friends talking about us and building that strategy into our marketing and into our sales process to make sure that we can get referral business? Seems simple, right? Something that we probably all know about, but not something that's often capitalized on. And I like the point that we have in here on negotiating for them. When you're in that negotiation process, part of it is saying, hey, you know what, maybe there is an area there where you can say, look, if you're willing to give me a referral, if you're willing to introduce me to one of your raving fans, you know, maybe there's something we can do within the buying process here. And I think that this is just something I wanted to call out, that word of mouth marketing is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of your raving fans, Aaron.
Thanks.
I'll send you a referral later. All right, Rick.
People ask for them, Aaron, as you know, there's ways to even automate that collection of referrals.
Mm.
Okay, number
100%.
5 playbook here, events and webinars. Look, you know, if you can drive people to an in-person event, all the best. What we would argue is that webinars, online events are the undisputed #1 lead generation driver. Never mind our customer base, but just in the B2B marketing space. I'm showing you some stats here on how they're up top in terms of what's actually driving leads. I'm showing you a 2024 stat here, but trust me, it's going to be 2025 is the same. And Melissa, if you go ahead, a lot of times people, you know, say, hey, I don't understand how to do a webinar. It's a lot of work. No, this is something we manage, but if you want to do a webinar yourself, I just thought I'd show you the ROI. So here's an example of a webinar we ran for one of our clients. And they're a technology service provider. And as you can see the stats here, 197 people registered and 70 people came. That's a typical ratio. Now, we'll also have, by the way, all the emails that we can follow up with those, the delta between 70 and 197.
Yes, to add to the email list.
But look at that, 70 attendees, 27 people came off the webinar and said that they would like to speak with someone in this company. So that's a 39% conversion. So I would argue this is the heaviest valued lead, other than someone phoning in or emailing you saying, give me a quote, that you can get, because the customers come at you, you've educated them, make them aware of what, you know, you might be able to do to help them. It's educational again, and they've asked for the meeting. Now, for those of you that want to
Hey,
run...
Rick, can I just jump in and say something on that point? I just gave a presentation this morning to a global IT company, and we probably spent 15 minutes just on webinars and how effective webinars are, but also how difficult they are sometimes to put on and manage and make sure that they are successful, because I think a lot goes into that. But it's definitely something out there that if you're on this meeting today, you should be thinking about for your business.
So that's why in the next slide, Aaron, we laid out the steps that are involved there. So if you're going to do a webinar, these are the kind of benchmark pieces to put one together, right? You've got to create a content strategy. Like what's the content? You're going to promote it, registration, you got to do delivery, right? And then after, record it like we'll do with this one here, and then for replay and remarketing for evergreen lead generation. Now, this is something we manage end to end for customers, but if you're a company and you want to drive leads, I would highly suggest webinars be part of your playbook.
Definitely. All right, Aaron, you're up.
Yeah, chatbots. Okay, so I was talking to a business owner a couple weeks ago, and they had a chat on their website. I think we've all had this experience where you have chats on the website, and we're talking, and I'm typing in on the chat, but no one's getting back to me, and no one got back to me for like the whole conversation. Or sometimes they get back to you with generic information, right? And so I think that the chatbot has evolved substantially in the last short period of time with the different AI tools and integrations, that it's definitely something that a lot of businesses are starting to keep top of mind. Listen, where we are with chat today and how intuitive it can be, we can integrate AI integration into the chat for personalization, integrate it into your CRM, remember visitors, return visitors to your website, and really personalize that message. You're taking that human element out of it. You can put it in for lead capture, obviously answering common questions, but being able to segment traffic based on, is this a service thing I'm trying to focus on? Is this a sales thing? Is this a customer service thing? And then sales support, just bridging that gap between sales, customer success, and marketing, and making sure that we can track effectiveness of it. Listen, people have had good, bad, mediocre, different experiences with chat. My experience is now that this has gotten so much more intuitive and effective, and offering those personalized messages back to the viewer and being able to integrate with your systems is becoming a huge part of the marketing mix.
First 24/7 sales rep. We just did looked at the data on one of the AI chatbots. Sorry, the percentage of people engaging with the chatbot that were sales leads, not
Sales
what
leads.
was the percent again? Wasn't it like
I thought it was 10.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say 9 or 10%.
10%?
Yeah.
We're just saying,
Yeah, year to
you
date.
guys offer this. Can I talk to someone about that?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it doesn't hurt to have one of those on your
Yeah.
site.
Well, I'm back to
Absolutely.
the poll question, right? Like, are we getting a lot of leads, a few leads, or no leads? I mean, this is definitely something that can be part of the lineup to generate more opportunities.
Mhm.
No chatbots just through all four, they shut off at 5 o'clock because they're connected to an email and someone inside. So this is the way tech's working now. Okay, so gated content. So I'm talking to about 200 dealers recently at a conference, and I asked them, put your hand up if you've got, we'll call it a mousetrap on your site that would make someone surrender their email address for some content offer, something other than contact us or book a free trial or whatever else they got.
Mhm.
And two hands went up. So we see this as the biggest gap right now. And you got to ask yourself, okay, on your website right now, do you have, we're calling it gated content, but basically someone has to provide their contact info to get your ebook, guides, white papers, attend a webinar, or maybe some self-evaluation kind of things. And so you can see this is a sample of a landing page we put together for a water dealer we work with and how it might look. But you can see how if someone downloaded this ebook on the drinking water within their workplace, it would probably indicate that they might be interested in, maybe a new drinking water solution. So
Well, should I just add something to that, Rick? This is critically important because this is going to increase our ability to convert website traffic. So if we go back to optimizing the website, the messaging, that type of thing, they can be ebooks, right? They can be other things that we can get imaginative with, right? Like ROI calculators and assessment tools and industry benchmarks and reports. Like, we can get really creative with the way that we structure the content, because to the earlier comment, we want to make sure we're connecting with that audience that we're trying to sell our product and service to.
So and to your point, so here's an example, because we got some people on that from the office technology sector. We're just showing you a sample of a series of ebooks we've created.
Mhm.
And those ebooks would be used as bait, we'll call it, depending on where the customer is in their buy cycle. So if someone doesn't understand what managed IT is, they may be up in the awareness phase. So what is it? So if they downloaded that, again, chances are they may be interested. Or if they're further down the funnel, meaning they're maybe in the decision window, maybe one of these ebooks would more apply. So what they download would indicate kind of where they're at maybe in their buying cycle. But also, what people miss about these ebooks is these can be used in the sales cycle. So when a prospect goes dark on you and they're not returning your call, I would not advocate someone reach out going, hey, Aaron, any updates on where we're at with the deal? But better yet, push educational content to them, ebooks, webinars, etc. So help them buy as opposed to try and sell them something. There's just so much opportunity here.
And another good one is video.
Yeah, I mean, we can spend, a boatload of time on video. Rick and I were talking about this earlier. I have 3 kids. ages 13 to 17. And I can tell you right now, they're all on video all the time. You guys probably have kids on
Really? They're on their
feel that
phone?
same way, right? That's, YouTube's the second largest search engine. So video also converts faster on all platforms from a content perspective, and leveraging video and explainer or testimonials or case studies go a lot farther than not using video. So really encouraging everyone to use video, optimize video for search, leverage YouTube, leverage the different platforms on social media for video. And then, we can talk about it a little bit maybe in another webinar, but platforms for avatars and scaling video to really use video to explain more complex situations, I think is coming and is here, and it's something that could really be beneficial to our channel.
Definitely.
We're using avatars right now ourselves, and that's a whole different program. But basically, you can input what you want the avatar to say, and the avatar video. You can turn video around. Okay, let's go to sales skills. Okay, I would argue that the number one lead generation asset you have is your salesperson. And unfortunately, the way to lead gen, we're talking, about digital things, but I would argue if you've got a great sales team, a well-trained sales team, you could really torque it up. And I'm putting down here prospecting skills in the slide because when's the last time you practiced kind of what you're doing door to door, checked what your reps are saying on the phone, looked at their emails? I just ran a boot camp, a prospecting boot camp within the last 2 weeks. And I asked the sales rep, send me a prospecting email. You might want to do it if you're a sales leader. What you're going to get, I can pretty much guarantee, is you're going to get different emails from each person. One had an attachment. Whoa, that's going to get caught in a spam filter. We know that. But how do you standardize those maybe into templates that are more effective and still have some personalization, like Aaron said before? And of course, have LinkedIn. Like, are you using LinkedIn for prospecting? Most people aren't. And we talked earlier about how you want to kind of, step one is get the connections. Step two is, maybe send them some informational content. And then step three would be go for the meeting. Objection handling. Look, can your reps handle the base level objections? If they can't, then how are they going to get a lead? Cross-selling. One of our hottest offerings right now on the training side is you've got all these legacy offerings, but are your reps able to cross-sell for a lead in the adjacent services you have? And only you know if they can. And the last thing that we would say that unfortunately most agencies miss, and which I think, why you need a sales component to your mix, is when a lead comes off the website, most sales reps don't know how to follow up on a website lead. They treat it like a request for proposal or a quote. And it's like throwing the football to somebody, the receiver being the sales rep. And if they don't understand how to treat that, all the work you did to get that website lead may be for naught. So there's some coaching in there that we think you should have in your playbook.
And as you just said, you think sales should be part of the mix. Let's dive right into sales and marketing alignment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like what you said at the end there, Rick. It isn't just about lead generation, it's about lead conversion, right? And making sure that we are consistent in how we convert leads. Just rounding the corner out of the presentation today, everyone, thanks a lot for attending, is that none of this is really going to work unless we have alignment between our sales and our marketing teams. And that really comes down to regular collaboration between sales and marketing. What do I see in the field that's really happening? And what do I see online from the metrics and the data that I'm tracking? Aligning and sharing the data and making sure the data points that are important to each are aligned with each, both sales and marketing, and are measured. And then the CRM, we know the story, garbage in, garbage out. If we're not segmenting our opportunities, if we're not putting in real information to the CRM, then we can't market to them. We can't connect the sales to the marketing dots on that. And then what is a qualified lead, which is what we've talked about. I think it's important that both sales and marketing align on what a qualified lead is, what a marketing qualified lead is, so that everyone's on the same page with what's working and what's not. Because more often than not, you can get a marketing team that can show you, the vanity metrics of traffic and views and impressions and all that stuff, but it doesn't mean anything to a salesperson that's out there trying to close business and get new opportunities. And making sure that that's aligned across the board is hugely impactful to making sure that the system works correctly.
Big disconnect right there. And Aaron, you know the difference between marketing and sales, right?
I hope so.
Marketing is letting people know what you got. Sales is getting rid of what you got. Think about it that
Right.
way.
That's right. I love it.
Take us home here from where we're at.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. So a few key takeaways to consider. Stop the random acts of marketing and start with strategy and alignment. Aaron, you just talked to that. Number two, the right marketing partner fills your in-house gaps without having to hire. And sales and marketing must be connected to convert leads into revenue. And you know what? As a bonus, we have a marketing performance scorecard. You can just scan the QR code there, and we'll do that up for you and meet with you to review. So please do scan that, and then we can get back with you on how you're doing.
Yeah, and I just like to say, just the marketing scorecard, if you're interested, it's just an unbiased third-party perspective on what's going on in your business. Just providing some insights into some improvements, some gaps, some areas that can be shored up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of look at a plan going forward.
Yeah.
All right. So in summary, quickly, here are the 10 things we talked about: SEO, email marketing, LinkedIn, referrals, events and webinars, chatbots, gated content, video, sales skills, sales and marketing alignment. And like I said earlier, you don't have to remember all these things. We've got the playbook, and we'd love to send it to you. And as you exit, there's a quick survey. Fill it out, throw in there yes, you'd like to get it, and we'll send it to you when it's ready to go. And we really are appreciative of you being here today again. And just, you know, your questions up front. Hopefully we answered them all. If we didn't, we'll follow up with you, or feel free to follow up with us. And we just are happy you chose to spend it with us today, and look for more webinars in our series. And thanks again, and have a great day. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Rick.
Good job.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.